Hey guys, welcome back to Simple Confections with me, Karen. Today I'm going to show you how to make French macarons. These are so elegant and super tasty, but let me tell you the truth, they are a little bit of a pain in the butt to make, but I'm going to try my best today to show you how to do it step by step so you can try this recipe with me. All right, so let's get started. Alright guys, so let's gather our ingredients. We're going to need 1 cup or 200 grams of dark chocolate, 125 milliliters of heavy cream, 1 cup or 130 grams of powdered sugar, 1.5 cup or 140 grams of almond flour, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 cup or 90 grams of granulated sugar, 3 egg whites, a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and some food coloring. You're also going to need a baking sheet, parchment paper, and piping bags. Okay, so let's start with the filling. I'm gonna make a simple ganache recipe for the macaron cookie. So first you're gonna start and heat up the heavy cream. Okay, now that you have your heavy cream heated up, pour it over the chocolate. All right, and let that sit for a couple of minutes. Okay, so the chocolate and the cream have been sitting for a couple of minutes. So what you want to do is take a fork and slowly incorporate it together. So after you mixed it for a couple of minutes, it should be smooth and shiny. So set this aside and we're going to start making our macaron shells. So now we're going to put the dry ingredients together for the macaron shells. If you have time, put the powdered sugar and the almond flour through a food processor or a sieve, and so it'll be much more finer and without lumps. But if you don't have the time, it'll still work out. It'll just be a little bit lumpy sometimes, but it's okay. It'll still come out. So I'm gonna put the almond flour in and the powdered sugar. And the salt. And then I use a whisk to mix it all together just so that I can break up the clumps if I have any. So once you finish doing that, set this aside and we're gonna start making the meringue part of the macaron shells. Okay, so now for the meringue part. You're gonna take your egg whites and put it in a large bowl. And you're gonna start whisking it until it becomes frothy. Okay, at this stage, it's a little frothy. You're gonna add your cream of tartar. If you don't have cream of tartar, just add some salt. This stabilizes and makes the peaks form faster. All right, from this point on, you're gonna start adding your granulated sugar a little bit at a time. And now you're gonna mix it until you form stiff peaks. All right, and we're just about done. It's stiff peaks if you pull it and the peaks stay up. This is pretty stiff. If you really want to test it, you can actually hold the bowl over your head or somebody else's head. And if it doesn't fall out of the bowl, you're fine. So it should look like this. You know, the peaks are pretty good. You know. So now you're gonna add your vanilla and whisk it in fairly quickly. So again, I'm just gonna eyeball it, but add a little vanilla and mix it in. Okay, here comes the fun part, the mixing part. This is the part where everyone gets scared, but don't be intimidated. It's not gonna bite. Add this a third at a time. So you're gonna add the dry mixture from before,
and you're just gonna mix it around. This is called macaronage, I think. Don't quote me on that. But just mix, mix, mix. And then you're gonna add this in thirds. So you're gonna add once this is incorporated, add the next third into it. And then after you do this, you're gonna add your last third. Okay, so the tip that I would tell people how to mix this is I use this method where I kind of smash it down and then go around with my spatula. So I kind of press it into the bowl and then move my way around. Okay, so this is my last third that I just added in. So once it gets all incorporated like this, it's not done yet, but what I would do right here is add my food coloring, and I'm gonna use a nice purple food coloring, and I'm gonna use gel food coloring if you can. If you use water food coloring, it might dilute it a little, so I'm gonna just start with 2 drops of gel food coloring. If I want more, I can add, but for now, 2 is gonna do it for me. And we'll gauge on if I want it darker or lighter, but it looks like it's the perfect color that I want. So mix until you don't mix until it's smooth because you really can't get bumps out of these things. You're gonna mix it until you can make a figure 8 in your batter. And I'll show you that in a minute. Right now it's still coming together. Some people say that it should look like lava, but honestly, have you ever seen lava in real life besides the television? All right, so you're gonna wanna make a figure 8. So it should make a figure 8 without breaking. So we're not there yet, see? It breaks. Almost there, so this is what I'm gonna do. Hold it up and then make a figure 8. See? It holds. So I made an 8 without the thing breaking. And then right when you have this, stop mixing. Okay, let me try one more time. It should, I'm just going too fast. There you go. So figure 8, we're successful, and now we're gonna put it in our piping bag and we're gonna start piping. All right guys, so it's time for the piping. So what I would get is parchment paper and a baking dish. You can also use silicone mat, but silicone mats, you might have to bake a little longer. What I would do is pipe some batter on the corners like I did here of the pan and put down the parchment paper so it wouldn't fly around in the oven when you start baking them. And then put your batter in a piping bag with a round tip. If you don't have a round tip, you can just cut a little hole in the piping bag as well. It's gonna work just fine. So what you're gonna do is make 1.5 inch to 2 inch circles. You can make it smaller or bigger, but you gotta keep an eye on it in the oven if you're gonna make it a different size. I would squeeze a little and then kind of twist. Oop, that one didn't even look that great, but that's all right. Let's do another one. Squeeze, and then practice makes perfect, guys. No, actually, practice just makes better, but if you keep doing this, you're gonna get a feel of it. They spread a little, so keep in mind of that. All right, so after you finish piping like this, you're gonna knock it on the table to to get all the air bubbles out. Now you're gonna leave this out for 30 to 60 minutes at room temperature until it forms a nice hard top, and then we're gonna bake it. So leave these out for 30 to 60 minutes. So I let these sit at room temperature for an hour, and they're supposed to be completely dry at the top. Oh, they're the same color as my nail. I didn't even really realize that. But when you touch these, they're completely dry. No wetness. And now these are ready to be put in the oven at 300 degrees for 15 minutes. Okay guys, so it's been 15 minutes and it came out of the oven and it looks pretty good to me. How you know you did it correctly is if it releases off the parchment paper pretty easily, like that one. If it sticks onto the parchment, that means you might have to bake it a little longer. Again, everybody's oven's different, so even including mine, this is the first time actually I'm baking it in this particular oven, so I even had to kind of play with it. And how you know that you did it correctly is that they'll have feet. These are called feet. It's like a ridge that separates from the top, so this is what you're looking for. So if you don't have that, it might be from your mixing, you're over mixing or under mixing, but you're supposed to have this. So these are perfect, and now we're gonna fill them. So you're gonna flip half of these over and put your ganache that we made earlier into a piping bag, and we'll get piping. All right, so I have half the shells flipped over, and what you wanna do is pipe a dollop of the ganache that you had earlier, just like that. And then you're going to cover it with the ones facing up. And look, you have your perfect macaron. And I'm gonna do this for the rest of them. After you finish doing these, I suggest putting them in the refrigerator and let them cool off for a couple of hours. Yay. All right, so finally the tasting part is here. I know that was a lot of work, but it's worth it. So let me taste one of these. All right, let's grab one. Look how beautiful. All right. So good. It's crispy on the top, chewy in the middle, and the ganache is super, super smooth. If you leave these in the refrigerator for a day or two, it tastes even better after that. So give that a shot. On the plus two, these are gluten-free. So if you're gluten-free, make these because they're well worth it. I know that was a little bit more complicated, but the reason why this macarons have this like weird reputation of being hard to make, it's because you have to make it and get a feel of it on your own. No matter what instructions people give you, even mine, you're never gonna, it's not easy as just putting 1, 2, 3 in and then mixing like some cakes are. These, you actually have to have a feel of it. And after you make it, maybe like the third time, you'll understand. You'll realize you're like, oh, I'm over mixing or under mixing, because it takes a lot of your senses. So give it a shot. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't work out the first time. I've made these probably 100 times before I actually understood how to actually make these correctly. So don't get discouraged. Try these out. If you like what I did today, please like, please subscribe, and please comment down below. And until next time, always end the day with something sweet, and I'll see you then. Bye.